Your hair is glowing in the sun, your hand in mine so warmly bound. It's bright outside and bright inside. Mid-afternoon, minister, we're free to wander anywhere. No more hatred in the stairs. Everyone's busy, minds their own, so it's just me and you and my Syrian. Not long ago. Good morning, brothers and sisters from all over the world. We're back live, and today we're going to talk about the Freedom Convoy, uh, which is actually a pretty momentous event that is happening up in Ontario, Canada. Right now, they made their way to Ontario, Canada. Oddly enough, this I think pretty like tectonic shift event has been barely covered by the mainstream media. In certain cases, has not been covered at all, other than the main lines. I'm sure it's going to be covered now because there is a concerted attempt to squash the whole thing and kind of paint it in a negative light. Whereas it is important to mention because it's maybe one of the first um sneezes of democracy that we have witnessed in a long, long time. So let's start from the beginning. What, when, and where? This is this started the Freedom Convoy started as a movement of protest against the mandates imposed by Justin Trudeau in up in Canada that required truckers that have been the ones providing goods and services all across the North America uh, require truckers to be fully vaccinated in order to be able to cross borders and transport materials. Now, while this seems to be done according to the whatever directives the CDCs of the world are releasing, remember now there's a huge contradiction because England just completely lifted any mandate, even like mask requirements at all. So like there's really like now a question of what's going on and what kind of benefit these lockdowns and vaccine mandates are actually bringing versus the onus and the burden that is imposed on society that 2 years into the pandemic is starting to basically destroy everybody's life. We are in the US, we're witnessing an incredible spike in prices, which again is not mentioned by mainstream media at all. Prices have doubled or tripled in certain things when it comes to construction materials. I work in interior renovation, so I'm very familiar with the cost of materials and everything. We're actually witnessing a tripling of the prices, scarcity of materials, and everything else. So, in this climate of general mayhem and economic collapse, I would say, because we're paying hard consequences for the choices of our politicians, these mandates are being questioned left and right. And there's a uprising movement that is trying to get rid of the mandates. It doesn't necessarily stand against the vaccine per se, despite the fact that it's being portrayed as an anti vaxxer movement. And it's just trying to bring awareness of how devastating these mandates are and how actually not effective at all. At this point, obviously, when the Omicron is spread equally by vaccinated and unvaccinated, the vaccine mandates doesn't really mean anything. So to put in context, 10-15% of the truckers, of the truck drivers in Canada are non-vaccinated and at this point don't want to comply with vaccination requirements. So their percentage is so irrelevant from any standpoint. These guys stay locked into their trucks, they drive down, they bring materials, they go back up. So like their chances of contagion and spreading contagion, all these kind of like false narratives and fables that now get peddled again. If the virus is spread equally between by vaccinated and unvaccinated, there's not even the excuse of transmitting the virus anymore. It's just a matter of complying what you've been told to do at this point or not. So Trudeau passed this law that they were not going to be able to operate anymore if they didn't get vaccinated. Of course, this created like some kind of like ruffled some feathers and created some resentments. And in normal thinking people, it would create uh, a righteous reaction in the sense that, like, it's 2022. we kind of figured this thing out. Like this is just about imposing things rather than keeping people safe. And there's really no need for this thing. And again, it doesn't make any difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated in terms of like contraction and spread of the virus. So what are we even talking about? Let's lift this crap up and be done and go back to our lives. A normal thinking person would think. Many people are still terrified and still think that like of unvaccinated as unclean and spreading disease, murderous individuals that are gonna come into your life and kill you and stuff. So this stuff, you guys gotta clean your head out and leave it out. So going back, so the truckers got pissed off by this thing because somebody told them you're gonna lose your livelihood if you don't do what we say, even though what we say doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay, this is like, a normal uprising of democracy, a democracy sense. There was a protest organized of a column of trucks that left from the eastern side of Canada and started driving towards the capital, Ontario. I might got the geography wrong, so I apologize to Canadians if that's the case. I didn't look at the map really. And by driving, they accrued new members, and it became an 80-kilometer long convoy that was heading towards Ontario, Canada. People started showing demonstration of support, and the Freedom Convoy organizers made really clear that this was against the mandates, not at all against the vaccines. Most of the truckers that were driving on this convoy were vaccinated. So the narrative, just to squash the narrative immediately, because now everything that dissents from the regular narrative is depicted as anti-vaxxer, proto-fascist, whatever, like where the fascism is actually on the side of those who are implementing these delirious and deranged mandates at this point. So, but it's normal for the, as we've seen before, it is normal to accuse the counterpart of the crimes that you are committing so that the narrative and the discourse gets shifted to the other side and never on yourself. So this Dawn Convoy accrued members and support along the way. It also relied on a GoFundMe campaign that received hundreds of thousands of dollars and then millions of dollars, and now it has gone up to $10 million. So that's a lot of money. A lot of people supporting this thing. So eventually, the convoy made it to Ontario, Canada, where they uh, basically blocked the city, making Justin Trudeau, the little weasel, run away, because that's what it is. These people are just weasels. He, Boris Johnson, all these people, they are like, empowered by the private interest and the corporate interest that has put them there. But personally and man wise, they're just like, weasels. They're just nobodies. So Justin Trudeau fled the capital and is in hiding, has been in hiding ever since, after depicting the the convoy is a fringe movement of anti-vaxxer and criminals. This, remember, these are the people that delivered goods when we were hold up, and then they were on the front lines making the economy work when we were staying at home and not doing anything, right? So like the first responders and all these people that were essential workers and they were the heroes of the first phase of the campaign. Now they become the miscreants and public enemies number one of this society for some reason. And again, it just relies on the official narrative of forcing people to comply. This is the concept that is being passed nonstop. Force you to comply to whatever they say. So now it's the vaccine mandates. Tomorrow is going to be economic restrictions. Tomorrow. So the very dangerous concept is that if you don't comply, you're not a normal citizen anymore. You're a B series citizens, and some of your rights are restricted. Now, think about this, because we bitch about how authoritarian other countries are. But when our politicians are doing this, we're actually on board with this kind of criminal management of society, which is at this point not even a fascist, because I would have said, in fascist regimes, who were the B series citizens? Maybe their political opponents in a phase, in the late phase of fascist movements. Definitely, Jewish people were discriminated and treated like B series. So everybody should be very aware of this kind of separation and pitting the people against each other, when you kind of like single out a minority group and describe them as like, retaining all the worst qualities of humanity, and then, you know, start targeting them with limited restriction, incarceration, punishment, and, limited access to society. This is the definition of a Nazi fascist society. We're talking about 10-15% of the population, which has done nothing wrong other than deciding that they don't want to do the vaccines. It's that simple. You got to live with that. There's a lot of people that don't want to do the things that other people want to do, and they must be free to do that in a democratic society, if it is a democratic society. So what is the meaning of democracy? Is democracy doing what you're told and having like a authoritarian regime that tells people what they're supposed to do based on scientism and pseudoscience? Because remember, the actual mandates right now are in complete violation of science, of what the science is behind this. Not Fauci's science, which is scientism applied to corporate interests. We're talking about science that has demonstrated that there's no benefits when it comes to spread of the virus and then contraction of the virus to the vaccines. Now, we're not saying that the vaccines are not effective. As the virologists 8 months ago were saying, we have to use the vaccine very wisely to protect everybody that is at risk. Plus, everybody that feels that they might be at risk, or they're psychologically at risk, or they might think that whatever, everybody's very welcome to the vaccines. That's not how you curb the spread of this particular virus, because the vaccine doesn't stop the virus. And that has been demonstrated and also asserted by Tony Science himself. So at this point, it boils down to democracy, accepting that other people have different ideas from you. This is democracy. And democracy is that when different people have different ideas, they're free to demonstrate these ideas and bring them in. That's what happened. The convoy drove all the way to Ontario and they took over the city in a very pacific way. There's been zero incidents. So when somebody's saying this, there have been largely nonviolent, they're saying there's been zero incidents. All the organizers have continually reminded their participants to comply by the rules, do not antagonize the police, work with the police, do not create cause of revolt or riot or illegality in any form of pacifically protest and everything. And this has been because they're Canadians, probably, because in the US that would have been a completely different story. Right now, the city would be on fire and there would be the National Guard taking care of things. So that's been the reality. And right now, what is happening, instead of listening to the people, as you have to do in a democracy, when hundreds of thousands of people demonstrate and descend on a city, on the capital, and bring up an issue, in a democracy, this issue will be discussed. Rather, in the undemocratic, authoritarian society the Western countries have become, they're just thinking about how to disperse these people, how to get rid of them. So this is here. We see that
the small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are...
Okay, so this one, Canadian capital declares state of emergency over Freedom Convoy. Okay, so let's read this one. Let me get the thing. All right, here we are. So right now, let me see. I'm messing something up here. There you go. We gotta do this. Get rid of this little thing. This little guy. It's okay. So there you go. Now we can scroll. Okay. So Ontario, sorry. Ontario, as I kept saying Ontario instead, Ottawa is the capital. Ottawa mayor seeks federal assistance, insisting anti-COVID mandate protest is out of control. It isn't. It's been mostly pacific, and there's been no uh, violence of any sort. Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson has declared a state of emergency, citing serious danger and threat to the safety and security of residents. Again, not true. As Freedom Convoy truckers and their pedestrian supporters continue to occupy the capital. The move comes after Watson lamented earlier on Sunday that police have been outnumbered by the demonstrators and indicated he wants the federal government to help quash the protest. Why? Why? They're freely expressing their opinion. It's a democratic society, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as we've been told all the time. So, I don't see why it should be squashed. Declaring a state of emergency reflects the serious danger and threat to the safety and security of residents posed by the ongoing demonstrations and highlights the need for support from other jurisdictions and levels of government. Before announcing the emergency, Watson pleaded with the federal government to sit down and have some kind of discussion, some kind of mediation to get these situations resolved because it's now spreading across the country. Oh, that's what this is about. That's why the media isn't talking about this. Because that's why the media is peddling a fiction narrative in Canada. In the US, it's never peddling anything. They're just not talking about this because this, when you see this, what I'm going to show you in a little bit, this could start something. So, no, they don't want to talk about it. So, Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson declared state of emergency as demonstrations continue, citing serious danger and threat to the safety and security of residents. Now, blah, blah, blah. Watson's statements echoed an admission by Police Chief Peter Slowly on Saturday. We do not have sufficient resources to adequately and effectively address these situations while adequately and effectively providing policing in the city, the top cop said during a meeting with the Ottawa Police Service Board. Referring to the demonstration as a siege, he insisted it was something that is different in our democracies, that's something we have never experienced in my life. Okay, so that's exactly because there is democracy. You've never experienced in your life because people so far, especially Canadians, but also Americans, have been incredibly compliant with the bullshit that comes from the top. At some point, they reached a breaking point because a smart man, when you are a politician and you're in charge of a country, you understand as far as you can push things, right? Even though you're serving your corporate overlords, you gotta know that you gotta toss something to people. So once you reach 85% vaccination, and then the rest doesn't want to do it, then that's where you let it go. And when people protest against it, you lift the mandates. Instead, they're trying to repress it violently. While Slowly has repeated claim all options are on the table. Ooh, now we're talking about American warmongering shit and Israel warmongering. All options are on the table means violence. Oh, violence is on the table. So that's how you respond to non-violence, a demonstration in your democratic country. All options are you talking about a nuclear weapon? Is that what we're talking about? Missiles? What are we talking about? All options are on the table. Justin Trudeau last week ruled out deploying the military. Oh my God. Acknowledged that such response should be a matter of last resort. Oh, really? I don't think it should be a matter of resort at all. Like, as long as the protesters are peaceful, because it's sort of granted in the constitutions that people can assemble and protest against something. The protesters have promised to hold the line until the government repeals its vaccination mandates and QR code health passports. And that's where we are. That's what's coming, friends. That's what's coming. The QR passports. The good compliant citizen passports. These, they used to be the conspiracy theory, pa pa pum, pa pa pam. Oh, ba ba ba. Ta ta ta. They used to be the case before. Then only cuckoos were talking about this shit, right? And now it's a reality. Compliance health passports. This is where it's going. This is what is hidden behind the pseudoscientism of the COVID mandates. It's about compliance. It's about schedare. It's about cataloging citizens and giving them scores for compliance. It starts with the vaccine. Mark my words. If this goes through, it's going to start with the vaccines and it's going to extend to everything. Convictions, health. So you have a health passport. Oh, you're overweight. You're more likely to the thing. So either you get on weight or you're not going to be able to access discounts on food. You're not going to be access facility because you're at a cost to society. Now, if you think that this is too extreme, let's watch the video at the end. Let's watch what's already happened. People being denied service and health services because they're not vaccinated. This is the beginning, friends. So open your mind, understand what's going on behind the thing. It used to be cuckoo land here. The people that were saying this, even there were people in the 70s that were saying this is where we're headed to. Oh, now it's a reality. And we're still bitching about the non relevant things. So you should better open your eyes and look at that. Also, some 5,000 people and 1,000 vehicles descended on downtown Ottawa on Saturday, joining the multitudes already present on the 10th day of the ongoing demonstration. A smaller counter protest took place at City Hall. Police boasted that 450 tickets have been issued in the red zone around the Parliament Hill since Saturday morning, though most were for minor infractions, as the obstructed licenses. Probably people were sitting on their uh, what it's called, the trailer of your little truck. Um, Obstructed license plates, seatbelt violations. You're like demonstrating in a city, you're not wearing your seatbelts. Oh my God. Fireworks or cell phone usage. Oh my goodness. These guys are hardcore, man. They're torching the city. They're obstructing their plates, not wearing seatbelts. Let's not say about wearing seatbelts. They're shooting fireworks and cell phone usage. Well, I would be getting tickets all the time if I was there. The Ottawa Police Service is also investigating alleged threats to public officials and a whopping 200 calls to its hate crime hotline, though they didn't reveal the target of the hate. Okay, so there's been no aggressions. So verbal threats to police, that's something that's like hearsay. So they don't have nothing. The protesters have largely refrained from violence and property damage, though that hasn't stopped slowly and other opponents of the convoy from invoking the supposed insurrection capital riot of January 6th. Ooh, ooh, the darkest page of democracy. Again, authorities have placed heavy barricades at key crossing points throughout the downtown and closed roads in an effort to keep out the endless parade of trucks. Attempts to divert trucks to the Ottawa Baseball Stadium to keep them out of downtown appear to have backfired, with the stadium turning into a staging area for the demonstrator with saunas and reportedly even bouncy castle for protesters' children along the refueling station and other supplies. Oh my God, these guys, these Canadians, gotta love them. They're so peaceful. They are so peaceful. Man, they have saunas. Do you realize how cold it is? Do you know what it takes? You and us from our comfort zone of our warm homes. Do you know what it takes to be on the streets for days in Canada? I don't even know what the temperature is there. It's definitely not warm. Organizers have indicated a plan to stay in Ottawa for the long haul, seeking donations from supporters to cover the cost of fuel. Okay, now look at this beautiful thing. Um, so they're trying to figure out what they want to do. There's only one thing to do. You got to lift the mandate. That's it. They shut down your country. You lost. Understand the concept of loss. In a democracy, there's the majority of people and the people that have spoken and they spoken. You can say you can wrap your nice mandates and stick them up your ass. It's that simple. So if it's a democracy, that is not a democracy only one you have to go along with what your corporate overlords say. If it is a democracy, now you get the vaccine mandates and you take them down, like they did in England. Once. When did they take them down in England? When douchebag Boris Johnson started to risk his thing. So he's trying to appease the population, finally give them some crumbs after destroying their economy and everything else. He's trying to give them some crumbs. And all of a sudden, the science wasn't there anymore. It was before, and now it's not there anymore. So we take the vaccine mandates down. So that's what you do in Canada. It's that simple. There's nothing else. You lost. You ran away from your town. You ran away from the parliament. Justin Trudeau, you're a loser. You lost. That's all you need to do. Sometimes when you have a fight, you get punched into submission, and then that's it. The other one guy wins and you lose. It's that simple. You lost. No. While Ontario has refused to budge regarding the COVID 19 restriction, the provinces of Quebec and Saskatchewan have already rolled back some of their stricter measures, while Alberta announced that a vote to lift the mandates will be held this week. Okay, so that's democracy for me. The people have spoken, and so now you do what you're told, as we do what we're told oftentimes. So that's how it works. Instead, look at this. All of a sudden, look what happened. Look what happened. So, um, the GoFundMe campaign. I don't know why this got cut so small, but from Fox Business. Okay, I got this from the GoFundMe group of company that raised $10 million of contributions. Decided they were going to divert these funds away from the criminal protesters to some kind of charity of their own choosing. Okay, think about this for a second. People donated to a cause, and the organization that is collecting the money is deciding that the cause is not worthy, and they're going to give the money to somebody else. You know who stood up for this? Ron DeSantis from Florida. I'm telling you, this guy's going to be president because he's on the right side of things. And not because he's a great guy, but he's intelligent and he listens to the people. Intelligence, listen to the people. Intelligence, listen to the people. This is not happening. So he jumped on this, and what he did, Florida sued GoFundMe for fraud because that's what it is. It is fraud. So again, if you are in a democracy and there are laws, everybody has to abide by these laws, including the tech giants. They're not above the law. But who only moved there? Ron DeSantis, and used the power of the state of Florida to sue GoFundMe. So now GoFundMe has to refund the money. Actually, I wouldn't have refunded the money. I would have given it to the organizer, because refunding the money, Ron DeSantis might be that smart. He might be sinking the demonstration while pretending to protect it. Because I wouldn't have ruled, to refund the money to the ones they gave it. I would just have ruled that they have to unfreeze the funds and give them to the people, to the organizer, so that they continue. And maybe the truck convoy is going to come down to the United States, to Washington, and accrue another million supporters. Because this is the loser mentality. The loser mentality is the bully loser mentality. Like the United States, when he lost Afghanistan, they froze the funds that they were holding here. Why? Nobody knows. Why wasn't the country sovereign and having its access to its own? So now they're letting people starve in winter as far as the Taliban doesn't get the money. And now, while that sounds good on paper, you lost. So you unfreeze the funds. The UN has called on the US to release these funds. But the loser keeps them all. Because they can, because they're above the law. So GoFundMe is going to be sued by Florida, and hopefully is going to get ripped a new one, and then they have to lose all this money. But that doesn't mean that wouldn't be enough. They should get a huge fine for what they did, because at that point, we're like in the realm of arbitrary actions. So you are a fund, your organization that is going to collect funds. You don't have the right to say who these funds go to. Otherwise, you have to state it clearly, and nobody's going to give you their funds. This is insane. So kudos to Ron DeSantis on this issue for standing up on the right side of things and taking legal actions against these criminals that are, owned by larger corporations probably. Or they got pressured by the government to freeze the funds. This is completely legal. Again, where is democracy? So I want to take leave now. This is a great thing. God bless, Godspeed, everything to the truckers of Canada for standing up for their rights and having the balls to brave the winter in Canada and being on the streets, standing up for themselves and standing up for what's right. And then we're going to watch this little, as a goodbye thing, we're going to watch this little video that I found on Instagram. And then I think it synthesizes pretty well what's going on. And there's uplifting music that for once the people win. And Justin Trudeau is in hiding. The Prime Minister of Canada is in hiding. Think about that. It doesn't take much. A few trucks. If anybody's listening.
Shamgar Connor. He has stage 5 kidney failure. He's been on the kidney transplant list for 3 years, and he needs food.
Ready? Go. Here we go.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians.
The cross-Canada protest, known as the Freedom Convoy, the people are traveling across Canada in opposition to a federal vaccine mandate for transport drivers crossing the border.
Some insane amount of people, like 50,000 trucks. Your country's in revolt.
Listen to this, Mr. Trudeau! Listen to it! Did you hear us now? Did you hear us now?
Can you hear us now?
Minutes ago, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's in self-isolation because of a COVID exposure.
Hey Trudeau, let me tell you something. You don't represent the views of Canadians.
The courage that it takes for these truckers to all stand tall together and to drive across Canada to go to Ottawa is massive.
This is a global, international human movement. The whole world is watching because what happens in Canada will ripple to the rest of the world, and now's the time to activate our voices. Now's the time to speak.
Immediately out! And don't come back without the warrant. You can stop on Nazi communism.
How many mistakes are we going to take before my child almost lost her life? Do your job and let me do mine.
We gotta remember where we come from and who we are and who fought for us to have this lifestyle. I'm here for my children, my grandchildren, and I'm here for this country.
Shamgar Connor. He has stage 5 kidney failure. He's been on the kidney transplant list for 3 years, and he needs food to survive. But now he is being told that he is no longer eligible to receive a transplant because he is unvaccinated.
The unvaccinated. The unvaccinated.
Our policy is in order to have people active on the transplant list and get a transplant, you need to be fully vaccinated. So you don't want to move forward?
I'd rather die with kidney failure.
It's obviously your choice, but it's not your choice if you want to be active on the list.
Summed it up at the end. It's not your choice at all.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
From now on, we will end the compulsory use of COVID status certification in England. The government will no longer mandate the wearing of face masks anywhere.
To the hundreds of thousands of people showing up for Freedom Convoy 2022, I've got a simple message for you. You're not a small fringe minority. You are the movement of freedom, the movement of power, the movement of love.
The Constitution of the United States has been violated.
Booster shots work. It's time. It's past time.
If you are not vaccinated, you remain at risk.
Israel has one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, with 78% of the adult population fully vaccinated. Despite this, the country is currently witnessing a significant spike in cases. The country's top COVID official admits that authorities mishandled the crisis with regard to inoculating the unvaccinated.
Now's the time to say no more so that way we can come back to being in our sovereign, God-given rights.
I'm exempt, so I don't need a mask. He's telling me so mind your business, yeah? So under arrest for wearing a mask. Have you heard of that?
These are laws. These are not constitutional laws on any human being. You either know what charge you're going to be filing or there is no charge. You guys are awful. Awful, turning on your own citizens. Come in, try to take people's livelihoods to make a living. Get the f*** out yourself, come back.
Remember this. Some heroes wear capes. And some heroes drive trucks. You've got my full love and support here from sunny Arizona. I'm a freedom fighter right there with you.
I stand for freedom and I stand with the truckers' convoy. Let's go. Let's fucking go, Canada.
Show up big. Ottawa, Canada needs you.
I just want to send my gratitude and my support to the Freedom Convoy and their mission to end the mandates.
Thank you.
Thank you for standing up for our rights, for everyone's rights. I gotta say, I have never been more proud to be Canadian.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa.
So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, activate the notifications so we can go live. I really would love to interact with someone on the chat. It's that little silence, crickets now. But hopefully soon there will be interaction. I would love to start a conversation, hear your comments, bring the discussion further and enjoy our time together more. But anyways, again, subscribe right there. And then hit the notification button and select all. So when I go live, we can actually see each other. Love and peace. Love your brethren. And then let's end up united. Hey.
Your hair is glowing in the sun, your hand in mine so warmly bound. It's bright outside and bright inside. Mid-afternoon, minister, we're free to wander anywhere. No more hatred in the stairs. Everyone's busy, minds their own, so it's just me